What is going on, guys? Expert2090 here, and I just wanted to give you guys my initial opinion, or first impressions, of the Oculus Rift. I just wanted to mention first that I don't currently own an Oculus Rift or a HTC Vive, as I don't have that kind of money. And the demo unit I tried on didn't run the game, The Climb, at 90 FPS. Rather, it only managed 45. But either way, I found it quite fun actually. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because I always thought that the Vive was much better than the Rift, and that there was no competition. However, even though I should be giving the Vive a go this week, I found that for £200 to £300, or $249 to $374 cheaper, it works surprisingly well, especially with the new motion controllers that are a lot more immersive than the Xbox One's controller. So, overall, the experience was really immersive once I got over the issues. So you may ask, so what are said issues? Well, let me address them now. From my personal experience, I found that the resolution of the screen wasn't as high as was needed to make the pixels not visible. Or in other words, I could clearly see the pixels, which was a bit distracting for a few minutes. However, I quickly got over this, as it's easy to ignore after a while. The other issue I had is one that's shared with the HTC Vive, is that you need at least an Nvidia GTX 970 GPU or equivalent to use at all, even though I did the Steam VR test, which shows that I got above 60 for the whole time, I think, which even though isn't the 90 plus FPS it recommends, I used the Rift at 45 and found it to be fine for the most part. I don't know if my system could actually run VR decently, or if Steam just says it can't so as to not get sued, but anyway, I'm not the kind of person that has £200 or $249 brand new to shell out on a graphics card, and I have yet to find a 970 or equivalent of a low enough price for me to comfortably purchase. By the way, the reason why I didn't include the CPU and RAM earlier is because my i3 processor and 16 gigs of RAM came up as fine on the test and would only cost about £120 or $149 combined, which is fair enough for most people. My final issue is the price of the headset itself, but again, that's also shared with the Vive, as even though the Rift's £500 or $264 seems reasonable compared to the Vive's £750 or $936, either way, they are more money than most PC gaming machines the average PC gamer has. Hence, it will take a couple more years, at least for me, before the hardware, both the headset and the PC components to run it, becomes cheap enough for me to buy without breaking the bank. However, there are good parts, and I will also address those now. The first thing I really liked is how well the Rift tracked my head and hand/controller movements, despite lacking the cameras and sensors that the Vive has. I had no issue with accuracy except from user error, but that's my fault, not the Rift's. I also liked how well it actually fits on my head, even though at first it was a bit tight. Once it was adjusted to fit more comfortably, it was almost unnoticeable whilst in play. One more point I had is that the controller itself fits almost perfectly in my hands, even with the headset on, meaning that the learning curve for the controller is almost nothing, only taking a couple of minutes to get a good idea of how it works. And all the buttons are where you would expect them to be when you play, which I really liked. The controller also knew, based on which buttons you were pressing, which finger/fingers you wanted to use, and said fingers/fingers would show up on the display, making it that bit more immersive. So, in conclusion, from the 15 minutes I spent with the Oculus Rift, I found it to be a really good alternative to the Vive, despite the shortcomings and the questionable business choices from the company. So if you can somehow find it for cheap or have a nearby test unit to give it a go, I would think you would be just as surprised as me to see how fun it actually is. So let me know in the comments if I should make a comparison video in the future about which I feel is better, the Gear VR or the Rift, or if a comparison of the Vive against the Rift, once I've had a go with it. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. I should be giving the Vive a go. Why are they reading it like that? Or equivalent, yeah. That's how you say it. I'll do this again. Despite lacking the camera's sensors, what? However, they're good. But yeah. Oh, such a